Shalom, King.
Shalom, big dog. Cam, say something now.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Okay, I just wanted you to say something. I was trying to see if my speaker was working. Shalom, Shawab. We're gonna get started here in a little bit. All right. We are about to get started. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shah. As you see, we have the definition of Gentiles up yet again, just in case you missed it. The word Gentile is used 374 times as nation. This is how you use blue letter. It's used 374 times as nation. It's used 143 times as heathen. Shalom, Officer Dahuam. It's used 30 times as Gentile, and it's used 11 times as people. Right? We always think that Gentile just means non-Israelite. That's not the case. Right? When we go to the actual definition, it's the outline of biblical usage. It's how the Bible uses it, right? Nation, people. Usually of non-Hebrew people, of descendants of Abraham, of Israel, or swarm of locusts, other animals. Goy or goyim, which just means nation. It's the goy right here. It's the Hebrew. Then you got goy, apparently from the same root as H1465, a foreign nation, hence a Gentile, also figuratively a troop of animals or a flight of locusts. Gentile, heathen, nation, people. I'm gonna keep hammering that in. I'm gonna keep hammering that same point in on how anybody can be considered a so-called Gentile. All it means is nation. I'm gonna keep hammering that in. But today we are going to talk about, or we're going to go into the Maccabees. We touched on a little bit of each captivity, right? We touched on Babylonian. I think we touched a little bit on Egyptian. Yeah, we did. We touched Egyptian. We touched Assyrian. We touched Persian and Medes. Now we are going to touch the Greek captivity. Let me look it up. Just in case anybody doesn't know it or have it. Boom. Let me share this. Here are the 7 major captivities. Just in case anybody wants to screenshot that: Egyptian, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman, then American. Hold on. Slovakia. Kid came in. So you got, these are the 7 major captivities. You should take a screenshot of this if you don't already have it. All right. We're going to get into the Hellenistic period. The Hellenistic period. From what I know, Hellene means Greek. Let me fact check that. What does Hellene mean, or Hellenic mean? Hellenic is a synonym for Greek. It means either or of pertaining to Hellenic Republic, modern Greece, or Greek people. Hellenes, Greek. That's what it means. Hellene means Greek. So we're learning about the Hellenistic period right now. And it says this. It says the Hellenistic period, roughly spanning from 323 to 31 BCE, followed the death of Alexander the Great and saw the spread of Greek culture and influence across the Mediterranean and Near East, culminating in the Roman conquest of Egypt. So what's taking place? The spread of Greek culture and influence. We're going to read about that. The spread of Greek culture and influence. Right? We already got the timeline. Alexander's conquest facilitated the spread of Greek language, culture, and ideas across a vast territory, leading to the establishment of new cities and cultural centers like Alexandria and Antioch. This is how much land they conquered during this time period between Alexander's 4 generals, his 4 generals that came up behind him. But the point we want to touch on most is his spread of their culture, right? It says the Hellenistic period saw significant culture exchange and interaction between Greeks and the peoples they conquered, leading to a unique blend of Greek, Persian, Egyptian, and other influences. It says Hellenistic art and architecture reflected a shift from the classic ideas of the previous era, with a greater emphasis on realism, emotion, and dramatic expression. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to get so far in that. Now we're going to read it in the Bible. Now we're going to read it in the Bible. And this is all going to tie in together on how we became Gentiles. We go over this chapter often. It's talking about Alexander the Great when he ruled and then he died. Cameron, go to First Maccabees 1 and start at verse 10.
Con. First Maccabees chapter 1.
Yes, sir.
So, Con. This is the book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1.
10.
Oh, I'm sorry, Con. Salaki. This the
Shalom,
book.
brother.
This the book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
Come on.
In those Salakia. In those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have made much sorrow.
So we see right here that we joined with the heathen, making covenant with the heathen. This is what's going on. And we read about this, what? Last week, the week before that. We always reading about how we are favoring the heathen and going with them and following their ways. Right? Let me see, because it's a precept in Maccabees that where it says that we like the glory of the Grecians best of all. Go to Second Maccabees 4. Go to Second Maccabees 4 and start at 9.
Con, this the book of Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 9. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise, and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians.
So what's going on here is he's giving us license. This is us becoming part of them, becoming part of the Greek culture. This is all that's taking period during the Hellenistic period. We were not the only people that was Hellenized. You had Egyptians being Hellenized, which is why they have Alexandria in Egypt, right? So they gave us license to make place for exercise. Make place for exercise. This is more so for new people and newcomers. Let's see. I'm gonna go to etymology. Etymology. Let me see. Whatever how you say it. Let's look at this word for gymnasium. This is the place that they built, right? Place of exercise. Literally what we just read from Latin, gymnasium. Schools for gymnastics. From Greek, gymnasium, public place where athletic exercise are practiced. Gymnastics school and plural bodily exercises from gymnasium to exercise or train literally or figuratively, literally to train naked. From gymnos, naked. This is what gymnasium is going into. And we know how the Greeks got down. They was always walking around naked. So they gave us license to make a gymnasium to work out naked. Now, if you know anything about our culture, if you know anything about our people were always very modest. Our apparel was always modest, even the men. We didn't show a lot of skin. That's just not how we got down. We didn't show a lot of skin. We just weren't that kind of people. We were a modest people. But now that the Greeks come along, we say, hey, they kind of got this going on. Let's rock with it. Let's do it. So this is what it's talking about when he said that he gave us license to build a place of exercise. Let's keep reading in this Second Maccabees chapter 4.
Verse 10. Which when the king had granted and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion,
Come on.
and the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolymus, Eupolymus, who went ambassador to Rome for amenity and aid. He took away and putting down the government which were according to the law. He brought up new customs against the law.
Come on.
For he, Salaki, I'm sorry. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under his subjection, and made them wear a hat.
So he brought up customs which were against our law, and brought chief young men their subjection, under his subjection. This is how you get a lot of people. You take the mighty men and you get them to do something, and then the rest is going to follow. Right? Verse 13, it says, now such was the height of Greek fashions, an increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest. So if you know anything about Jason, Jason was actually set up by Antiochus, by these Greeks. He was put there for a reason, to turn our people's heart away from the Most High, because the priest would lead the people a lot of times. The giving of the law, right? So he put an ungodly priest as leadership in our world. And they increased in heathenish manners, right? Remember, I told you, heathen and Gentile is a derogatory term back then for our people, because we're supposed to be set apart from the nations. We're not like the nations. We do stuff holy. We follow the Most High. It says, verse 14, so that the priest had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise, after the game of discus called them forth. So no longer did our priest want to do the priestly duty and stand at the altar. They wanted to go and get down with the gymnasium. They wanted to go and get down with the games of discus and the Olympic type games. They no longer wanted to keep Passover and etc. Verse 15 is the point why I brought us here. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. This is what happened. We did not set by the honor of our fathers. We didn't set by the honor of King David, by the honor of Noah, by the honor of Abraham, by the honor of Aaron, by the honor of Solomon, by the honor of Asa, by the honor of King Hezekiah, Ezekiel, Jonah, Isaiah. We didn't set by the honor of them. We liked the glory of the Grecians best of all. So what do we start calling ourselves? We start saying, man, I'm a Greek. We start walking around no longer with fringes on, but with togas and nakedness. Let me go see images. They're what we start walking around with, because we liken this above all. It's like, man, you know, theirs is kind of cool. Let me see. Greek toga. Now you got grown ass men and brothers walking around in this. Look at Jake. Look at Jake. This is how he's walking around. We was no longer walking in our Israelite garment, in our Israelite apparel. We was walking around like this. Let me see if they got anything on Hebrews. Ancient Hebrew fashion. Let's see. Got the fringes on. Look, a modest people. A modest people. This is how we was rocking. That's gonna be from a hieroglyph. I ain't that cold at the hieroglyphs, but y'all get the point. Here go, some the priest sometimes. Boom. This in color. Got the breastplate on. Got his fringes on. He got the whole nine going. We stopped doing this. We stopped liking that, and we settle for this. Settle for the Greek togas. It's kind of easy slip on, slip off when you want to go exercise naked. That's off. That's madness. That's madness. Let's go back to First Maccabees. Let's go back to First Maccabees 1 and start at 12.
Con, this is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 12. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
So like we just read, the king gave us license or gave us permission to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Let's keep reading.
Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
So that's a key point. That's a key point. Let me see if I can grab this precept. All right. This is a key point right here. And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So now we get into the topic of circumcision. We get into the topic of circumcision, and people always wonder, why the New Testament always talking about circumcision. Well, it's got to be because, the other nations weren't circumcised. No, it was talking about Israel. Let's go here. Genesis 17. It says at 17, and I'm going to start at 11. I'm going to start at 10. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. The Most High talking to Abraham. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations. He that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. Here's the point. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. He hath broken my covenant. So these people were now being cut off from the Most High's covenant and from the Most High's people. Why? Because they were not being circumcised. They weren't circumcised the 8th day. We just read it. They stopped. Verse 15, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and did what? Joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. All of this is going to make complete sense whenever we get to the New Testament. Some people may say, oh, you're reading Maccabees, so on and so forth. That's totally fine. You don't even have to read Maccabees to get this understanding. Historians can what is it called? Certify Maccabees as this is good history. This is real history. This is facts. Let me go to it. It's called the Hasmonean dynasty. This was a real thing. Hasmonean dynasty. Let's read it. The Hasmonean dynasty was a ruling dynasty of Judea and surrounding regions during the Hellenistic times of the Second Temple period. Right? And who ruled during this time? Let me see. Hellenistic age, you got the Maccabean revolt. Look, Simon Thassi established the dynasty in 141 BC, 2 decades after his brother Judas Maccabeus had defeated the Seleucid army during the Maccabean revolt of 167 and 141, according to 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees, and the first book, The Jewish War, by historian Josephus. All of this is history. Good history. It's real history. You can try to say it's not inspired by God. The book isn't inspired by God. That's totally fine. I'm not even going to try to fight you on that. That's cool. That's fine. But it is history. This did take place. The Bible is not a fable. It's not a fairy tale. All of it is history. Big history book. Let's get back to it. Since they stopped circumcising themselves and joined themselves to the heathen and called themselves Greeks, guess what? You are now a heathen. You are now a Greek. You are now a Gentile. So it's no mystery when we get to the New Testament and we read in the book of Romans, there is neither Jew nor Greek. Why didn't Paul say there's neither Jew nor Roman when he's writing to the Romans? He says there's neither Jew nor Greek. You may ask yourself, how do you know they call themselves Greeks? Cam, go to 2nd Maccabees chapter 2. 2nd Maccabees chapter 2. Is this what hold on, I might be thinking something else.
Con.
Boom, go to 2nd Maccabees chapter 6. My bad. 2nd Maccabees chapter 6. Let's start at verse 1.
Con, it's the book of 2nd Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers and not to live after the laws of God.
So this is how you become cut off from God and his covenant. There are certain things that you can do to get cut off, like we read in Genesis. Shalom, Victoria. So if you are now cut off, you are a Gentile. You follow Gentile customs. And guess what? They are Jews by birth. They're Jews. But you're now cut off from God. Let's keep reading. Verse 2.
Con. Verse 2. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it Salaki, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympius, and that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place.
So if you don't know what's going on, they polluted the temple in Jerusalem, and instead of calling it the temple of the Most High, the temple of Yahweh, they called it the temple of Zeus. That's who Jupiter is. They called it the temple of Zeus. So now we're not keeping none of our customs anymore. We're not even being circumcised anymore. Now we serve their gods. This is what's taking place. And we've seen it time and time and time and time again throughout the Old Testament. If you missed those previous videos, go back and watch them. It's great history on them. It says the coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, for the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought things in that were unlawful or that were not lawful. The things that they brought into the temple that were not lawful was pork, pig. Greeks had a certain fascination when it came to pigs. Let me see. Let's read this. Greeks and pigs. In ancient Greece, pigs held a complex role, serving as both a food source and a symbol in religious practices. With piglets used in purification rituals, and pigs frequently associated with Demeter, the goddess of fertility and agriculture. Purification. Pigs were used in purification rituals, and their association with dirt and disorder led to their use in rituals to cleanse individuals or places. Pigs were frequently sacrificed in religious ceremonies, particularly those related to Demeter, the goddess of fertility and agriculture. So let's look at this. Hellenism. Some scholars suggest the pig became a symbol of Hellenism, with the Book of Maccabees mentioning the forced sacrifice of pigs to Greek gods. Scholars even back this up. But they had a fashion with pigs. This is why Solomon said that we are clean contrary unto them. They are clean. Let me see if I can pull it up. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. Malachi, go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. It's a lot going through my head right now. Let me see if I can find it. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2. And this chapter is about what the heathen or what the wicked think in their head, right? Malachi, you here?
Con.
Read Wisdom of Solomon 2 and verse 10. You hear, dog?
So lucky. Let me get there. You hear me?
I can hear you now.
The book of the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2 and verse 10. Let us suppress, you said Wisdom of Solomon 2 and 10, yeah?
Yep.
Let us suppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged.
So I pulled this out to show this is what the wicked think in their head. Keep reading.
It says, let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth.
Come on.
Therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objective to our infamy, the transgressions of our education.
So this is why I pulled this out. The wicked know that we are clean contrary to their doings, which is why they see pig as something holy for purification. We see pig as an abomination, as an unclean thing. We dare not bring that into the temple. We dare not eat that. But these people are clean contrary. Man, I just backed out of one of my chapters. Cam, go back to 2nd Maccabees chapter 2 and let us continue reading verse 5 at verse 5.
Con, it was Second Maccabees 6 and verse
5.
5.
Yep.
Yes, sir. The altar also was filled with profane things which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
So it was not lawful according to the Greeks and their customs. It was not lawful for a man to keep the Sabbath day. Guess what? If you do not keep the Sabbath day, you are cut off. You are cut off. Or ancient fast. If you not keep the Day of Atonement, guess what? You are cut off. Go read it in Leviticus 23. It tells you you will be cut. Let me see. Leviticus 23 and 29. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in the same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. So we couldn't keep Sabbath days, we couldn't keep ancient feasts, and we could not profess ourselves to be Jews. Couldn't do that. If you did that, you'd be put to death. So what do we have to call ourselves? We had to call ourselves Greeks. I'm a Greek. I'm Grecian. I don't remember. I don't know no other names for Greek. I'm Hellene, whatever. Whatever they had to do, they was calling themselves that, and they were cut off from their people. You had some Jews that didn't get down with it. You had a great multitude of Jews that did get down with it, and we're reading about it. Let's go back to 1st Maccabees chapter 1 and read. Let's jump down. This is going over some history. This is going over all the heinous and bad stuff that he did to our people. Go to 1st Maccabees chapter 1, read verse 41. Start there.
Con, this is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
Come on.
Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
So we
For
see that
Salah.
Antiochus said that all should be one people. We all should just be one. Kind of like what they pushing today. We're all just Gentiles. We're all this. We're all that. Let us all have one law, right? Verse 42, everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Like I said, it wasn't just the Jews who were getting Hellenized. There were Egyptians, there were Assyrians, there was a lot of other people that got conquered by them. It says, so all the heathen agreed to the according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. Many of the Israelites consented to what he had going on, which makes them what? It makes them Greeks. It makes them cut off from their people. When you know the law, when you know the Torah, it's not hard to understand. It's not a hard concept. But if you don't ever read any of this and you just jump straight into Paul, because a lot of us don't even read the gospel, we just jump straight into Paul. It's like, oh man, yeah, okay. Everybody can be saved. Everybody, gotta love everybody. When even Paul doesn't even teach that. We'll get to that. Paul himself doesn't even teach that. Christ never taught that. It's nowhere in the Bible. The Most High has only been the God of Israel. I ask people all the time, who show me where he's the God of Edom. Well, I can't show you that. Show me where he's the God of Ham. I can't show you that. Show me where it says he's the God of Moab. I can't show you that. Okay, I can show you he's the God of Israel. I can show you that time and time again. So we got to go through these key sections. We got to go through these foundational breakdowns through this history for the rest of the book to make sense. So we've been through the Greeks. Next week, I think we're going to be in the New Testament. Next week, I think, is about time. I think we're ready to finally crack open that good old New Testament, right? So I don't have anything to water everybody for tuning in. That's all I got. With that, we want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Hashem, Hamashiach, Yahushua. And we want to say Shalom.
Shalom, bro.
Shalom, Barakatah.